I would like to now move on to the next presentation. I would like to introduce Kelsey Rosell from Digital Science for our sponsor talk. Kelsey is Senior Vice President of Institutional Sales and Commercial Director for Dimensions.
Thanks, Liz. Let's see if I can get this right on sharing my screen. Always a challenge these days. Let's see. Liz, you'll have to tell me, do you guys see my screen? I hope you do.
Yes, we see you.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for letting us speak for a few minutes about digital science. As Liz said, my name is Kelsey Rosell, and I am the SVP for Institutional Sales and the Commercial Director for Dimensions. Digital science is a pretty unique company, and as I go through just a few slides here to talk about who we are and what we are, I hope that it becomes evident on how we are an ecosystem of products that help with discovery of finding expertise across institutions and industry because of the unique ecosystem that we have. So digital science has invested in small innovative software companies since its inception, which was in 2009. And when they look at the tools that they invest in, they look at how coming into the portfolio of products is going to be beneficial to the subscribers of those tools. So digital science, as I said, has been around since 2009. And I joined the company in 2012. And at that time, they had 4 products in their portfolio. And as you can see from this slide, it's grown significantly. But each of these tools are valuable alone, but they are even more valuable when you look at them together and how they naturally have integrations. One of the things that digital science is known for is trying to make part of all of their offerings free for academia. So there are free offerings, for example, to Altmetric. There's a free offering for Dimensions, which is an A&I database. There is a free offering out there for Figshare and so on. So you can see that we really try to give back to the community because most of the founders of these products, these portfolios, are academics, came from an academic or scientific background, trying to solve real world problems. Right now, you have to really consider an ecosystem because we're going through an evolution in the industry overall. And I think even Rebecca's talk kind of hit on this a little bit. And right now, the evolution is in how we collaborate. It's how we demonstrate our impact. It's how we make ourselves visible, how we showcase our expertise as an individual, but also as an organization. And how do we demonstrate our value to people that might be seeking us to collaborate with, or to a funder, for example. How do we show our value to a funder and why they should continue to invest in us? Just looking a little bit about collaboration right now, we know that collaboration has increased over the past few decades, and especially in highly funded disciplines where you have, massively multi-authored publications. Usually those articles that are in the fields like physics and genomics and things like that. And we also know that the funders are increasingly requiring international collaboration, for example. And when you're applying for grants, they will put a requirement in there that you need to collaborate. Sometimes you have to collaborate outside of your country. So you have to have a global collaboration. So we know it's happening more than ever. We know that the collaboration is being driven by funders. And what we also know is that when there is collaboration, there tends to be increased citations, right? So there is a benefit to working with other experts in the world. Finding collaborators, though, using other things besides just traditional sources of data. So for example, what I mean is if you, and I'll make my slides available because I only have a very short period of time, but what's clear from the literature is that collaboration just isn't being measured correctly. So for example, given the most popular tools and sources of data out there, we need to be able to measure collaboration to benchmark our universities properly and to find collaboration opportunities that might lead to funding opportunities. So one big issue is that the way that we look at co-author networks alone is just not enough. There has to be more than just looking at that co-authorship network to find an expert to collaborate with, but traditional tools out there focus a lot on that collaboration network. So you need to also look at the funding landscape. So not only do you have to take into account that collaboration network, but you have to be able to also then look at what's happening in the landscape of funders as it relates to, for example, what's happening with patents, right? So being able to look at the industry, being able to look at maybe who's being cited in policy, who's getting recognized in their own fields. So you have to be able to have a tool that gives you a view into all of these different links of data alongside that collaboration network. So again, it's just important to look at all of those aspects. So if we were, for example, to look at a particular discipline like biochemistry and cell biology, well, we know it's one of the most funded areas worldwide, right? But funding for it and just about everything else that's going on in the world, funding for this discipline as well as others is going down. I mean, this just tends to be a trend right now worldwide. So you can use a tool like Dimensions to look at, where is funding happening in the discipline that I'm in? So not only where globally, where geographically is funding happening, but also who's funding it, right? Who are the institutions that are funding it? And then within, who are the funders that are funding it? And then you need to look at the institutions that the funders are funding. And from there, you start to get to those collaboration networks that are going to help you narrow down your expert search and find a collaborator that, again, might be getting recognized in other areas such as maybe news and media, right? So somebody that's, highly cited, has a high field citation ratio, but also is being recognized out in news or science blogs or, talked about across other platforms that give you a broader reach as well. So these are some of the things that you should consider when you're looking at finding an expert to collaborate with. And within the ecosystem that is digital science, we have these tools that work together. So we have a research information management system in what I would consider is a true research information management. It's collecting data from all different types of content. So both scholarly work as well as service, as well as teaching, professional activity. So all these things come together in that system, and then it can go out publicly. So you can, once you've done the analyzing of, where does this collaborator sit within the world, you can then look up a profile on this person and figure out, what type of other attention are they getting, right? Who is their network? And sometimes you can look at a cluster in a network and find perhaps someone that is definitely well recognized in the field, and this is somebody that you can reach out to collaborate with you. So this is just a combination of multiple tools within that digital science portfolio coming together to give you the best lens into finding an expert to work with. Some best practices for finding experts to collaborate with, for example, is that look for relevant researchers that are publishing in countries that have mandates to collaborate. So for example, I just use Argentina because I read an article about it recently that they really have a mandate for their researchers to collaborate internationally. And if they're funded out of any Argentinian funder, that's a mandate from the funders themselves in those countries. So, look for those types of opportunities. Look beyond that co-authorship data to patent holders, right? So, maybe you're going to find an expert who is being funded by someone in industry. When you have industry collaborations, they tend to get more attention, get more citations in the world as well. So there's a benefit there to you as a collaborator to work with someone who is being funded by an industry versus a funder. You also want to make sure that you look to find, those central core authors within a network, though. Those would be the collaborators that you want to consider reaching out to. And even look at, I talked about patents already, but look at other non-traditional attention that people are getting. Like, for example, are they being mentioned in public policy, right? Things like that. That will also raise your visibility. So those are just some of the things that, we talk about when we look at using an ecosystem to find the best expert or collaborator to work with. So I know I talked quickly. I wanted to leave time for some specific questions. So I will open it up for some questions. I don't know, Liz, are you monitoring the chat?
We were actually going to have questions at the end of the session.
Okay.
Any that come through. So those are great insights, Kelsey. Thank you for those thoughts on research data and collaborations. We could take the questions also. You could talk with Kelsey in the coffee talk that's coming up, which we're gonna just take a quick break for that. This is a chance for you to share your own challenges and successes in research information management with each other. Just a brief breakout. The next session will start at 15 minutes past the hour. So you can continue that conversation in coffee talk. We'll see you again in a few minutes. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thanks, everybody.